You know, for my money, if we were still in the era of screensavers, this would be mine. It is mesmerizing to watch. It's, of course, a picture of the storms that swirl around the continent of Antarctica. But it also shows something else. As we see the globe rotate, we also can see precession. And many people are unaware that not only does our globe spin on an axis, it wobbles just slightly on that axis. And some years ago, there was a cosmonaut in space that discovered this thing called the intermediate axis theorem. And the discovery was held classified by the Russians for over a decade. Basically, it states that a body spinning like this in a non-gravitational environment will, of its own accord, flip back and forth, back and forth. And I'd like to show an example of this, and I have it slowed down to a quarter speed. As you can see, they have this T-handle, and it's spinning, and it flips back and forth on its own. The Russian cosmonaut that discovered this did so by accident. He was unpacking some crates, and they're going to show this, I guess, in close-up. And he spun a wingnut off of a stem and noticed this. But the implications were terrifying because, of course, the Earth is a spinning body, and they have tried for many years now to debunk the idea that our planet could flip, basically saying that because the Earth is round, that there is no intermediate axis. The moment of inertia is the same in any direction. The problem is that none of these debunks take into account the moon, because we are the Earth-Moon system, not just the Earth. And because of precession, we are spinning on a wobble, and we have this giant body that slingshots around us. So not only will we flip, the moon will flip with us when it happens. And I think it explains why we see so much here in Antarctica that was flash frozen literally overnight. And we've shown this over and over and over and over again, that there are places that look like the people were literally having a meal, and then bam, the atmosphere was sucked off the planet, everything froze, and then of course the atmosphere came rushing back in because it was ice cold, everything froze, turned to snow, and the entire world flipped upside down and was changed irrevocably. This would of course cause massive tidal waves, flooding, and we've heard stories from literally every continent about this. And there's a basic principle out there that would explain it. Now everybody would want to know when. Hard to say. I'm not that much of a mathematician, but it's pretty clear why, with moment of inertia, why it would happen. But I want to also cover some things that in this region where we found this pyramid that I missed. And the reason I started the way that I did this video is if you were going to make something that was going to survive such a catastrophic thing like that, you would need to build it on the level of a pyramid. Because, and where the pyramids are located are usually the interiors of continents. You don't find too many pyramids on the coasts. And this particular one that we found is also quite a ways inland. So, of course, we found, and if you were also going to maintain any kind of a network of orientation, you would need to have some type of a global way of getting around, or at least looking back down at the planet after everything calmed down and saying, okay, that's where that was, that's where this is, so now we can reorient how we move about. I think with the Pentagon network thing, what we're looking at is, because there's such a range of sizes, There might be one network for moving from place to place on a continent. That would be the smaller pentagons. There's a mid-sized range of pentagons that I think they used to move from one continent to another. And then there are some behemoths that you can see from orbit. And I think those might be the ones they used to move from planet to planet. Mars, Venus, who knows? In the past, it's been speculated that those both planets were at one time habitable. This particular pentagon near the pyramid is one of the very few that orients perfectly with the compass. This particular point right here goes directly 359.89 degrees, which that little tiny bit that's off is just probably an issue of the imagery or the line that I'm drawing. But it's almost perfect. But there was something else I wanted to show in the region that I missed in the earlier video. Now this one is going to be, it's fairly blurry, and I'm going to go ahead and give you that one. But I'm going to turn the light down to show you the difference in the color of the rock of this white area here and the area below it. I want you to pay attention to the two large horns at the top, the nose, and what looks like a goatee. Now, whatever this is, it's different than the area around it. The difference in the color is not hard to see. But let me show you this area that I had found that I had labeled Baphomet Statuary. And this is a snowmobile ride away from where we just were. We have two horns, the nose, and then we have this goatee. Now, this is modern 2019 imagery. This is from November 5, 2012. We can see literally the exact same thing, but in even more detail. Here is an image from 10/22/2012 and an image from 10/19/2009. So we have 4 different images from 4 different individual years spanning a decade. And they all look identical. That's usually the test, whether something is just shadow or pareidolia or apophenia or anything like that. Now there is also something else I found that is fairly disturbing, that it does look like there's also evidence of them trying to hide it. And let me find it. All right. Now, when you are at this altitude, you have to get down to a certain place before it starts to uncover. The image you're looking at here is from 10/20/2012. If I turn off historical imagery, I want you to look at something. This area here to the right is the low res, the area to the left is the high res. But look what they've done. This is very clear evidence of trying to blot things out and not show something. Now, many of you have said all of the occurrences of red that I have shown are just iron oxide. Okay, would they go to this effort to hide just iron oxide? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now we're back to our 2012 image. Are you telling me that when you look at this, the first thing that you think is iron oxide? And if so, why would they have gone to such great lengths to cover it up? There's a big difference between iron oxide bleeding out the side of a mountain and this. That's a very different color. That's not rust color. Now, the what, the why, the how, that's up for speculation as far as how this got here. But, I'm not going to say much more about this because, of course, the platform has limits. But I think you and I are of the same mind. Now, also, another good example of them attempting to hide things with time. This is, of course, the 2012 image. When we look here, we see this circle. It's like, well, wait, what was there? What are you trying to show us? Well, let me get right to it. Here's 2009. Okay? So unless you're in exactly the right year, you won't see this. I have mentioned before that there is imagery of birds and pictographs everywhere. This right here, and let me turn the light up real quick, looks like some type of a moa, some type of a cassowary. And next to it on the ground, and I know it's blurry, there is a serpent. And I'm going to give you these locations and you can look at it with your own equipment. And there is another somewhat of a human figure bent over here. And it's hidden in historical imagery. Just like up here. One second. This is going to be one of the tougher videos to do. I'm very much going to need your patience because I have to get through the years, and when I'm showing this, I also have to keep an eye on the camera to make sure it stays in focus. All right, so once again, we have two circles and nothing there. So that was October of 2012. This is February 13th, 2012. All right, so here we are. This is what I wanted to show you. Thank you for your patience. Who sees the face? The giant demonic image right here. And it's kind of interesting where it's mounted. It almost looks like at one time it had a pentagram cut into it right here. All right, there we go. That's the right lighting. And honestly, for those of you that are a bit skeptical, I'm always for people being skeptical. But do understand that any model, anybody who's ever worked in any kind of media, will tell you that you can absolutely hide things that are there simply by adjusting the lighting or using different kinds of lighting. And you can also show things that you wouldn't see conversely. So I think that might be part of the technique that we're looking at with Google here, or some elements in Google. I don't think they have the manpower to go through all of the imagery. And the stuff they don't go through, I really honestly think they're just going to debunk. And a channel like mine, I have to be very careful because they can get rid of me just like they got rid of everyone else. I've also mentioned pictograms. I've never seen snow just do this. Just end up in these shapes that look like symbols out of Norse mythology. And then once in a while, you see these two big eyes. And almost always, serpents. I've seen a lot of snowy fields. I've seen a lot of snowy landscapes. I've never seen anything like what we're seeing in Antarctica. Same thing over here. Just images of people. And as you can see, through the years, it's very, very different. And you can see so much. Now this one's going to be tough in the sense that it's going to be, when you see it, it's going to be terrifying. Make sure I have the right ear here. All right, you ready for this? We have all of these straight lines and angles, but then we have this weird curve, horseshoe, right? Now down and to the left of it, there is what looks like some kind of a being. And I apologize for all of the delay. I'm not doing it for dramatic. I'm doing it because at the moment I'm doing 3 or 4 different things. Monitoring the camera, the light, the zoom, and where we're at. Some ask why I film a computer screen. Because it gives me another level, another option. I can literally change the lighting on this, change the lighting on the computer. I can use the regular scroll like this to zoom in and out. And I can also use Windows magnifier like this, which is different. I can also move the camera closer and farther away, like this. But whatever this is, it has 2 very dark eyes, a large forehead, 2 legs, 2 arms, and a torso. And if you look right next to it, what does that remind you of? The jaw, the mouth, the nose from beneath. Doesn't that look like jaws surfacing? What would this be? Why would it be here? If it's just wind, ice, rock, and snow. Because that's really the 2 choices you have. I've never seen snow melt in a way that looks like this. Just randomly. I mean, look over here. If that's not a snake, I don't know what else it would be. I mean, does anyone else have any rational explanation for how a rock would shape this way? Without, hand of man? And it really does. I mean, if you look really close on this, the head is here. And it curves around here, 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 all the way around to there. And next to it, it almost looks like a lobster. You have the big claw and the little claw in the body. And I guess we'll just go back to here to show this one more time. This pyramid complex has so many different features that it looks like there's a small white statue here. The openings are here. This is amazingly clear. This is clear. And what is so insane about this is that there aren't 100 people talking about this on YouTube. This one channel has shown so many things. And you know what? I want to show you guys something from a long time ago that we found. This giant emerald jade obelisk. Now this was from 13 months ago I showed this. And still the videos got buried. Can you tell me, honestly, looking at this, that could be anything else other than a jade or green obelisk? I mean, it's insane. And this discovery here is almost a year old. And I'll bet almost none of you have seen it. So, anyway, 22 minutes. I will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great week.